Eden Cause here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. P.S. Just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a psychological empath, meditation master, dimensional healer, all the things to help you within this ascension. To learn more about me, visit me at EdenJustBe.com. And let's get this party started. Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom, in association with the Grassroots Warrior Network. Yes, my only recurring guest. We come about every 6 weeks. So Pia and Cullen, interstellar communicators, welcome back, y'all. How y'all doing today?
We're delighted to be here and eager to share.
We love these conversations with you. We have the best time with simply talking about things that are important in the world and just bringing things up organically with you. So this is a good time for us every time.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. As y'all know, I have a couple things to talk about, and then I'll read their bio, and then we'll get into stuff. All right, two things I want to bring up. Y'all know I'm an affiliate for Hooga.com, so Hooga. They sell red light therapy, EMF clothing, as well as grounding products. Like they have a grounding starter kit, pillowcases, and mats. So I have they have the second biggest I have, the red light therapy, which is great. Red light therapy machine, which covers your whole body. You face it 8 minutes on the front, 8 minutes on the back. Red light therapy helps with psoriasis, aging, internal inflammation, hair growth. Is just incredible. Yet I'm bringing this up because now they are working with TrueMed to allow you to use health savings, your HSA, so your health savings account, which this is just amazing. Because I consider this an alternative therapy. So you can also use your flexible spending accounts, and it says you'll save up to 30 to 40%. Also, if you enter Eden Just Be at checkout, you get an additional 12% off. So do it. I have a whole bunch of grounding stuff too. It's just all wonderful. Now, Pia and Cullen, I also wanted to bring up this awesome t-shirt that I'm wearing, 3D to 5D. At the time of this publication, I will have probably over 25 products. Okay, my daughter did this one for those of you that are watching. So these little guys will be on at least 2 of the other t-shirts. And I have some controversial ones as well. They're all high vibe. I couldn't help but do this because I had so much fun with it. So there's an Illuminati sucks one. So in hats and shirts, it's just fun. Do y'all like this, Pia and Cullen? Do you like this one? I think it's so cute.
It's
so
cute.
happy.
We like it.
And their little hearts have little glows on them. And I can't contain myself. That's I'm so excited, y'all. Y'all asked me before we started airing. This is just great. I love being creative. I love to create things. And this brings my past when I was a creative director in advertising, which, yeah, I can, I did some designs. I have a design team that's working with me. I love it. Okay. Anyway, husband and wife, PhDs. We're going to go into a bio. Pia Smith Orleane and Cullen Baird Smith, communicators to the stars, writers, visionaries, intuitives. Pia being a former psychologist and Cullen being trained in anthropology and archaeology. Together, and it has to be both of them connecting, they bring planetary wisdom from the stars from a group of Pleiadian light beings known as Laarkmaa. They have offered decades of extraordinary work and commitment to the earth and humanity. And they keep on going, keep on plowing through, regardless of what happens, regardless of being in airplanes and people being sucked out and, all that stuff. Hello again. Okay. I told them I was going to share this experience that I had. And I talked about this on the podcast last week because I want to get their accompanying thoughts. Okay. And I want to be clear, and I know y'all wouldn't do this. I was telling one person and they were like, oh, Eden, you should have done this and you should have done that. I'm like, this is my experience and it needed to be how it was. And it was. Okay. Let me see how to go into it. I'll try and keep it kind of short. So from what I understand, the eclipse that happened a while back, that CERN and NASA have been trying to do a lot of things in terms of opening dark portals. And that at this point, there are a lot of dark forces, demons, whatever you want to call them, that are kind of trapped here on Earth. So last week, I was doing a healing session with someone, and this beautiful, horrible demon showed up at his feet. And at first I was like, okay, time for you to go. And just stood there and basically was like, can you help me? So I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So in that session, I had a lot of demons kind of show up and was working with them. And a part of me was like, oh my God, this is tremendous, because this is showing me that change is happening. So anyway, there's more. So the next day, I have been touring a lot of sacred sites in Ohio, and there are tons, which is incredible. So this was my third Eden tour. Let's call it that. So I went to this. Oh God, I get chills all over. Went to Marietta, Ohio, and there is this friggin' mound that is probably 6 times 5, maybe 30 feet high. I'm not really good with height, but like if you took me, so I'm 5'5", if you took me and had about 10 of me, that's how tall it is. So come to this square, and there are all these homes around. Then in the square, there's a normal burial. You would call it. A lot of revolutionary people are buried here. And then there's this mound right in the middle, sacred mound. So I'm looking at this going, wow. All right. So I went up to the top of the mound, laid down. Oh, and by the way, when I was driving there, it was about 2 hours. The demons showed up in my car. So it was like we're having this glorious little road trip. So when I laid on the mound, suddenly the demons started fighting, kind of like these zombies. Okay, I know this sounds crazy, but it doesn't. Started fighting these zombies that were coming out from the graves. And I just sat there and just like watched it through my mind going, what? Whoa, this is really interesting. Okay, I'm just going to sit here, let them do their thing. They know what they're doing. They know how to fight evil. That's what you want to call it. So they continued, and it was okay. I left the top of the mound and started walking around, and I just was hit with this. There were obelisks, if I'm saying that right, obelisks, all through the cemetery, all through it. And I just had this bam moment where the way that we bury our dead in the West is not good. It suddenly, the whole thing, I saw everything was dark and I was just astounded. And then I ended up leaving at one point, and the demons were still fighting, and it was okay. I went to another cemetery. I don't know why I did this. It was huge. Like you drive your car through, and it's in the middle of a residential area too. And I'm like, first, why am I doing this? Because it was just dark. And I've always not had a great feeling when I went to cemeteries. Yet now I see it's just a place of, for me, not rest. It's not restful. And I've always felt this, or always felt things, but I didn't feel it to this magnitude. And I've had several people ask me, well, Eden, how are we supposed to bury people? I'm like, I don't know. Yet like nothing's come to me, and I don't feel like that's where I'm supposed to go. So yeah, I wanted to share this with you guys and get your thoughts on it. Woo! Okay, let me wipe some sweat off my brow from telling that story. Okay, y'all go.
Well, the first thing I would say is we have been told by multiple sources that we're going to be able to see through the veil as if there is no veil, and that other beings will be communicating with us back and forth. And Cullen and I can absolutely attest to that is happening in our lives. So we're not at all surprised that somebody is showing up in your healing space or on a spiritual journey saying, help me, and that these beings want to help also. Laarkmaa always says that the dark is not evil. It's just separated from the light because it's forgotten its way.
Yep.
Sounds to me like the beings that were coming to you were saying, we know we've lost our way. Help us find our way back. That's what it sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. And I think that's what you've been experiencing. And on top of that, what we understand is that any and all beings, whether from the dark, from the light, it doesn't matter where they're from or what they represent, they cannot harm us at this point. It is not allowed by cosmic law, by universal law. They can be here. Apparently, they have a right to be here, maybe just the way we do, but they cannot harm us. They can be called marchers, walkers, watchers, travelers. There are many, many terms to describe these beings. And what they do is probably not from a negative point of view. It's just possibly curiosity about whether they're lost, whether they're confused. We don't really know. I mean, we know in some cases what's going on, but we don't know all the story. However, if we keep ourselves in the highest possible frequency or vibration, not only can they not hurt us, but they won't even try to hurt us because they don't want to mess with light and love. They do not want to be combative or, let's use the word, demonizing us, because they can't touch us. We can walk. Go ahead.
The stories you hear about people who say, oh, I was terrified, and then this happened to me, and then that happened to me, and they list off all these things. What's happening actually is the person is succumbing to their own fear, because energies will, if they have an opening in your field because you're fearful and you're negative yourself, they will match that energy. But it's not them doing the harm. They're just stirring the pot and you're hurting yourself.
So what your story gave us was that you weren't frightened. You weren't going into a place of, uh-oh, this is scary. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. You were observing. And that's exactly what we need to be doing. We need to observe what's going on around us.
And Cullen, can I mention this? When they show up, they stink, they smell. I mean, it's not something pretty. So, I mean, they show up in however they are at the moment. So also being able to not see that, to see beyond that, because they're so used to being scary and they have the scary vibe or whatever. So that I think is also key, at least in my experience. Okay, please proceed.
I think that's absolutely one of the things that our senses allow us to know about these energies. And Pia and I have for years been able to smell different energies. Some of them are beautiful, beautiful scents. I mean, we can smell roses. We can smell, this is going to sound funny, chocolate. We can smell, what are some of the smells?
Well, pine sol, a cleaning agent that's made with pine that's very strong. We've had that one around us a lot.
Which is not very...
We call it the pine sol being, and we go, okay, it's here again.
And it's so strong.
Really overwhelming.
It takes our breath away.
And it's not something we keep in our home at all. So we know it's something outside coming in. We had a pipe smoking being for a number of years. Sometimes we've had cigar smoking beings show up. Sometimes there's something that smells like something's rotten. we don't, it's not in our physical realm, but we can smell that smell, and it's an energy presence we can feel. We've learned to do exactly what you're doing. It's not necessarily aligning with the smell, but it's saying, oh, there's an energy here, and this is the way it's presenting itself, and then sending love and light to the energy.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm needing to communicate that to other healers or light workers, because they don't just show up and look a certain way. I mean, they embody all of it. So
Yes.
to be calm and to be knowing that there's so much more to this. And I've been watching, like it's like there are a lot that are coming my way. So it's not like, oh, Harry's here. So it's not like I develop a personal relationship, because some of their healing is so quick. Like one being, let's call it that, was, and they show up, they're very slick and black, even if they're the way they look is different in terms of textures, but right now it's all slick and black. I don't know why. But I've seen them turn to gold, and then they it's like they scamper off and evaporate, which is really interesting too.
There are
Okay.
so many beings in our
Yes.
in what we think about our three-dimensional experience. It's astonishing how many beings occupy this same realm. They may be bleeding through from a different dimension or a different realm, but they're here, and we are aware of them. When people say that the universe is mostly made up of empty space, I don't really buy that quantum physics idea, because there are beings, energies, all kinds of stuff everywhere. And if we could see, if we had X-ray vision, if we all pretended to be Superman or Supergirl, we would be able to see beings all around us. I mean, we could look from side to side and say, look, there's one, there's one, there's one. We are not alone here. We are absolutely, completely misseeing what's going on around us. And the more sensitive we get, and obviously this is happening to you in a really big way, the more sensitive we become, the more able we are to see through what Pia called the veil.
We also are having the experience of increased synchronicities, and we can talk more about that, but right now I want to mention one specific synchronicity. Here we are talking about this layer of reality on your show, and we have completed a YouTube video dated April 28th on Pleiadian Laarkmaa YouTube, talking about this very subject, talking about the experience of something coming in and how people are automatically frightened, and how they need to not be frightened, but instead simply move into a state of love and acceptance and move forward with it, because the experience itself indicates we are being elevated, or we are elevating ourselves, depending on which way you want to look at it. We do our work and the universe matches us. We enter into something completely unfamiliar without a state of fear, and the universe says, oh, good, you're ready to handle more, and gives you the next level and the next level and the next level.
Yeah.
And part of this is exchanging the sense of fear to the sense of curiosity. Just flipping a switch and going, oh, I may not be used to this, but what is this? What am I being shown?
Yes.
Can I be a little bit more curious? And if we step into that zone, the fear just evaporates, because we're creative, curious beings, we humans. And if we can step away from the knee-jerk, immediate response of, oh, I don't know what this is, so I should be afraid, I don't like it. If we can catch ourselves, and the faster we catch ourselves, the bigger the experience with whatever these energies are will be.
There's a whole lot of talk right now about DNA expansion. I mean, Laarkmaa told us almost 20 years ago that we don't have 2 strands of DNA, we have 12.
Yep.
And there's a lot of exploration now and acceptance to the fact that we really have 12. And there's a lot of talk about having codes added into our DNA. The YouTube that we mentioned, April 28th, is called DNA Activation Codes, is the name of the YouTube. And it talks about how we're being activated by these experiences simply by stepping out of fear and doing just what Cullen said, turning towards love. I think there's a tremendous synchronicity between the experiences you're explaining and that we're talking about and the opening of our DNA. I don't know what codes look like. I don't know what they sound like, although we do hear a lot of unusual musical tones lately. So I don't know how to define that common term of, oh, we're getting codes. But I firmly feel that we are being provided more and more and more conscious awareness and opening of our cells of our DNA, the strands of our DNA, as we put fear aside and go, this doesn't belong to me.
Can we for a second, talk about, just to give people kind of a heads up in terms of I see a lot of different things as well. How do I say this? Just to give people more of a key of, well, you might see this or you might see this. Can we give some other examples just to keep people out of fear and into curiosity? Because it's so, like, when I was sitting on the top of that mound and saw all this fighting and like all this violent shit, I knew it needed to be violent. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to send light and love, because there needed to be fighting. And that's kind of how the demons knew how to fight other negative forces. So I'm just like, okay, just let them, I'll stay out of control and just let it happen. So in terms of fairies, in terms of angels, in terms of other galactic beings, how would y'all respond to that?
Well, I would say anything and everything is possible, and I would give you 2 examples.
You're talking,
perfect.
No, you can't. I just want to say one thing. You're talking to 2 people who have had many dozens, possibly hundreds of these experiences since we were children. So
Yes.
asking us this is something we would be more than happy to talk about.
So
Yay!
One example is about 15 years ago, we were awakened in the middle of the night. We had a sliding closet doors at the foot of our bed that were not attached at the bottom, so they moved when you opened the door or closed it. We were waked up with the doors rattle, bang, 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 and so much noise coming out of the closet. We thought, what's gotten into our closet?
And we also saw light
coming out from the closet underneath.
I mean, like if we think about the original Star Wars movies with the lightsabers, we saw lights that were changing as though these beings were fighting with lightsabers.
Like they had lightsabers. There was a red light and a blue light, and you'd see both of them going back and forth with the light coming out of the closet. So we know that you can expect anything and everything, that it resolved itself, and we had a peaceful feeling as we sat and watched it. We're sure the light won, whatever that battle was. And why they chose to have it in our bedroom, I have no idea, but they did.
Well, I think it was to show us that, number one, it's possible, and that we're being given a free ticket to greater understanding that, hey, we're here, and we're here because you experience what we're doing, what we're experiencing. You are either viewing or hearing or understanding. I think it was a gift to us, actually.
Another one that's a little different, a lot different, is we were sitting visiting with friends in our living room, and all of a sudden a being of light, which we call the angel of light, appeared in our room. Huge angelic light presence in our room. 3 of us saw it. The 4th person felt it, but couldn't make the image out, but 3 of us saw clearly. And
one of the 3 of us, a very, very sensitive man, started bleeding in his teeth and gums.
Oh, shucks.
And he said, afterwards, that has never happened to me before. I've never had nosebleeds. I've never had bleeding like that of any kind. And we talked about it for a while, and we thought that his experience of an extreme energy that was just
Intense.
It was actually causing a physical reaction in his cellular being.
It was a very positive visit. It wasn't anything negative at all, but it was intense. And I think because Cullen and I have been around intense experiences all of our lives, our cells regulated, acclimated to that. This man had never had anything like that happen before. So to his system, it was a shock. Telling this story is a way of telling people, don't be frightened. Whatever it is an adjustment. It's an opening. It's a, hey, congratulations, you made it to another level.
I think we're being shown in so many ways, in synchronicities, in beings showing up, that we're actually able to perceive. I think it's showing us that not only are we in the process of ascension, but maybe we're further into that process than we realize. People often ask us or Laarkmaa, when is the ascension going to start? When are we going to start? When are we going to start being different? And Laarkmaa always tells them, dear humans, you've been in this process for a long time. You are not beginners. You are not in the beginning phase. You are fully involved in how you're developing, how you're evolving.
So these experiences can look and feel like anything. They can feel like you have a physiological reaction. Some people wake up and they feel immobilized. They can't move. They know there's somebody in the room and they can't move and they can't speak. That's one type of assistance that comes to us. It is not something to be frightened of. Other people see things like what you saw with your demons. That's showing how we are being of service. We have to simply change our perspective and recognize and trust the goodness of the process. And as Cullen said, keeping our vibration high as it can be is key to the process.
It's incredible how many experiences when people open up to this kind of discussion, often people don't feel comfortable sharing these things because they're afraid of being ridiculed. They're afraid of being ostracized,
called crazy,
any and all of those negative things that humans throw onto people who are more sensitive than others. People have seen these things, these beings, these energies forever. I mean, that's part of how our myths started. The myths did not come from nowhere. They came from, well, once upon a time, there were giants on this planet. There is now proof that there have been a number of skeletons or buildings that have been seen, recovered, verified scientifically. In fact, just recently, and I can't tell you which country, it probably is America, but I don't remember, just in the past few months, there were some skeletons found that absolutely prove that there were giants alive on this planet.
Two places. One is in Tennessee and the other one is in Italy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So one in the United States, one in Europe.
Yeah. And Pia and I, we have experienced so many wonderful things. I don't want to take our whole time together on this one subject, but we have stepped into situations where we either time traveled or we stepped into a different dimension or realm. We have spent time with little people, which some people would call leprechauns, or in Hawaii, they will call them menahunis. We have stepped into situations where sometimes they see us and they know we're there. Sometimes we can observe them and they don't know we're there.
And they ignore us.
Or they ignore us. But we have certainly had those experiences.
Along with fairies. We've seen fairies. I mean, real. They really are real.
We spent so much time in the British Isles over our lifetimes where we've had these experiences that were just out of this world. I mean, literally out of this world.
Yep.
One of the problems that people have, and I want to put a cautionary note here, is we humans have a tendency to grab for what we want. So if we have a strong desire to see fairies or little people, we go out in nature and our eyes are peeled looking to see what we can see. They don't like to be stared at. They find that highly rude. So just watch. If you want to have that experience, go with an open heart. If you see movement, just stop and notice the movement, but don't look directly at it. And then they may allow you to enter into their kingdom or to, we've even had a dance with little people at one point. You know, there are lots of things that can happen if you get out of your human domain of, I want this, so I have to have it, so I'm going to pursue it.
And there are special places around the world. You have discovered them in Ohio. Pia and I have discovered them in a number of places, and I'm sure you have too, where these experiences just happen more easily. They just come about. And in the UK, we've had more experiences like this in the UK than anywhere else in the world. And one thing we know is many people in the Gaelic tradition, whether they're Irish, Scots, Welsh, some English, they have never forgotten the magic of what was once normal. And where people didn't close out that part of their wisdom and knowledge, these occurrences happen more easily and more often. And it's just amazing how in certain places it happens much more often and much more easily.
I had a guest on recently. I can't remember if he went to Norway or Sweden, and people there like believe in trolls. And same thing, when you believe in it, it's real because it is kind of real. So there you go. Hey, wanted to ask you two things. In terms of, I hope I'm saying this right, obelisks. Okay, knowing that in DC, the Washington Monument is an obelisk, and it's just bringing, from what I understand, dark energy. So when I was in the cemetery, I mean, there were so many obelisks. I took one picture. I was just amazed. Do y'all have any attachment or any understanding of burial and the obelisks there? Is that something that's familiar, or again, my experience, or what would y'all add to that?
I have no direct experience of that.
Okay.
I would say that it's possible that an obelisk could be utilized as an antenna to
Mhm.
draw good or bad things, because originally they were in Egypt and where in Europe? Somewhere
Okay.
in Europe, Bosnia, maybe?
Well, all over Eastern Europe.
All over Eastern Europe, they were there originally, and I don't have any indication that they were there to draw dark energy, but I think energies that become aware that these are antenna can utilize them for positive or negative energies. So if you're putting it in a place like a cemetery where people are in a lower vibratory state because they're grieving, they're upset, they're angry, whatever they are, that's drawing the negative energy because that's what the humans are putting into that space.
Obelisks have been around since thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And I think originally the idea behind them was that they wouldn't have called it an antenna in those ancient times. But
Mhm.
my research, my understanding is that the people that built them were trying to connect with the heavens. They thought if they built a structure that was pointed upward and was away from ground level, that was higher than ground level,
And aligned with certain solar positions, planetary positions.
and ley lines,
Mhm.
that they would be able to bring energy. And it goes from an obelisk to a pyramid, the pyramid, the Egyptian pyramids, the Mayan pyramids, they were all built above ground, seeking connection with some higher energy in what they would term the heavens or the upper world. So I think initially they were designed probably as a positive idea that would bring God or the supreme energy, the supreme being, whatever they believed in their mythology, their cosmology. And I think that has been perverted by, and I have to be really careful here. You may have to bleep me. You may have to bleep me off here.
Think so, but go ahead.
I think the Masonic people, the Masonic guys, caught on to this.
Colin, can I bring this to your attention?
Yes.
So many of the headstones had the Masonic images on them.
Yeah.
It's another thing. Okay. Ooh. And you're giving me, I totally get where I'm heading with this. So thank you so much. Oh, go.
Well, it's giving me goosebumps. I can tell you openly. I believe that the secret societies took the idea of obelisks and turned whatever it was originally designed for into something that maybe wasn't of the highest energy or vibration. And probably the most vilified, most hated or loved guy in this picture was Aleister Crowley, the British chap. Boy, that's hitting me in the throat chakra. That must have some excuse me, that must have some connection with me. Aleister Crowley really, really popularized a lot of the evil things that mankind was taking from goodness, was taking from ancient wisdom, turning it around and making it powerfully evil and using it in a not very good way. And so probably a lot of the ancient temples, I mean, every cathedral in the world that was built from the 12th, 13th, 14th centuries up until the 18th or 19th centuries, all of the cathedrals were built as high as they could possibly build them with the scaffolding that they had in those ancient times, because they wanted to get closer to God or to the heavens. And I think that is an extension of the original ancient designs of what we're talking about. Something that's pointed up, that's away from ground level, will bring us closer to God or heaven or whatever they believe in their own views, their own belief systems. And I think probably that was all pretty good until it was turned around by ones who made it not such a good thing.
And with that, also the inversion of so many things, like crystals can be used for such goodness, but they can also be used now for a whole bunch of darkness. I am, Pia, with you talking about anytime there's a lower vibration and the grief that is had at cemeteries. I do believe that all of this negativity just feeds. Okay, so now I'm really understanding this on another level. So I will be working on changing that. Thank you so much. Oh, and then I wanted to bring up, when you talking about Tennessee, with a place that they found giant skeletons. Also, I don't know where this is right now, but I don't know if y'all are aware that in Tennessee, I don't think this is finished, but working on stopping chemtrails there.
Yes. We are.
Did see that there was legislation passed that chemtrails are no longer allowed in the airspace over Tennessee if they contain chemicals that are harmful to the environment. The thing they left out of the reason it passed was because they made it very simplistic. It's been tried in other states, but it didn't pass. In Tennessee, it passed because they made it very simplistic, but they left out chemicals that are harmful to humanity or life. They didn't put that in there. So technically, they can still dump mRNA vaccine all over the skies, but they can't do aluminum. You know, one thing is eliminated. They didn't get the whole package.
Okay, yet, okay. The wonderful thing about this to me is, chemtrails, that's a conspiracy theory. Well, look at Tennessee. Okay, if you don't think this is real, well, what do you think about that? I think it is so amazing, even if it's not completely done. It's just a start to really open people's eyes.
Absolutely.
fantastic first step. We were so excited when we saw that. And we went, yes, even if you couldn't get the whole thing in, this is the first step. Now they can take steps 2, 3, 4, and it will spread in other states. It's the first step. I was very excited to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And synchronistic that it was in the same state that discovered giants.
and that so neat when you talk about synchronicities. I feel, and I want to get y'all's impression on this too, that within these things, with the chemtrails, and I am seeing with my clients, there's just a shift in things. I'm really feeling right now, and seeing it myself, that there's this waking up, there's this shift, there's this like more than I've ever seen before. Would y'all agree with that? And I love fully involved, that we are all fully involved. I love you saying that, Cullen, before. What is y'all's impression through your own work and stuff that you're doing?
We see that what Laarkmaa calls the great split is happening.
Okay.
Those made the choice some time ago that they were going to go with the ascension of the earth and in the path of wisdom and awakening, they are indeed beginning to awaken all over the place. We see that happening. Their hearts are opening, they're listening, they're more synchronistically involved, they're excited about it, they're unsure about it. We definitely see that. On the other side of the split, we see the deepening of the abyss of those who are clinging to the old paradigm, selfishness, narcissism. I want what I want, and who cares what anybody else gets? That is also increasing. So we see an increase on both sides of this split. Our focus is on let those on the negative side do what they want to do. They've made their choice and they're entitled to it. Let's focus on these over here that are turning towards the light, that are part of our light working group.
Yeah. What we say is, okay, dark, okay, controllers, do your worst. You're not going to stop us. You're not going to prevent us from doing what we know in our hearts is the right thing, the right work, the right ways of being of service. And
what we came here to do.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
We're unstoppable. I don't mean Pia and Cullen. I mean all of us. We are really truly unstoppable. And whether Pia and I stop doing what we're doing, someone else will pick up the torch. Someone else will pick up the baton and continue on in their way to do the utmost highest frequency work. So it's just an ongoing sense of service that people who recognize it, that's why we're here, to create unity, to create a better place. It's just going to keep going and going and going.
So for you guys, having done this for decades, in terms of what you are seeing now, what's that like?
Different. I mean, I've been seeing interstellar beings since I was 6 years old. And Mother Mary has been with me my whole life. She shows up and I see her. It's not just that I feel her presence or hear her voice, and she's been with me my whole life. So this has been fairies. I've seen fairies and little people since I could walk. So this is not new for me.
Right.
What is new for me is the synchronicity of being able to talk to other people about it. That's what's different, is because other people are now seeing it too, where before, and I know Cullen will reflect this as well from his experience, before, each of us in our own places, we didn't have people that saw what we saw or could do what we could do. And now we do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Well, in my involvement with other energies, other realities since childhood, I made some bloopers along the way where I tried to share what I saw, what I knew, what I felt. And often in the old days, I mean, of my life, people just didn't believe me. They just could not understand what I was talking about. And sometimes it could almost come to blows, like, you're crazy, you're hallucinating, you're are you on drugs? What's wrong with you? That kind of attitude. And
I'm on the drug of love. Woo!
so I had to adjust
Right.
my way of sharing, because I pretty early on realized, probably by the time I was a teenager, I realized that I could not talk to just anybody about what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so I throttled back a little bit. I never stopped. I never put it away. A lot of people, Eden, who have these experiences that we're talking about, have been so profoundly traumatized by their families or their religion.
Yes. Oh gosh, I have many people on the show with that. Yeah.
Or their parents or their grandparents. Many people that grew up in very strict religious, and I don't care what kind of religion, it doesn't matter what the denomination is. Many people were said to be demonized, filled with devilish ideas, dealing with Satan. I mean, all these ridiculous things
Mm-hmm.
that these poor young people, or any age people, they were simply communicating with other realms. There was goodness, there was cross-species understanding. So to make a long story short for me too.
I want to interrupt with one thing. So my guest Angela, who was on when she was a child, she like bunnies, she'd go out in nature and bunnies would come up to her and birds and she would heal them. So she went back to her church. I'm not sure how old she was. Let's just say 6 or 7. And basically they're like, okay, we're going to perform an exorcism on you. So she was like, okay, I'm not going to attach to that for a really long time. So yeah, okay. Please proceed.
So many people have been damaged over the ages. Let's look at the witch hunts in early America. That's the same. Those wise women were connected to nature. They had birds land on their hands or their shoulders. They talked to the herbs. They talked to the trees. They were having a real, genuine communication. And boy, did those men around there didn't like that, and they put a stop to it. So what I'm saying is, to answer your question that Pia answered from her point of view, is yes, there is a change, and more people are waking up and realizing that there's much more to life than they could have ever imagined.
One of the things to add to that that's more and more becoming apparent is I began traveling out of my body when I was 6, when I was seeing interstellar beings. I didn't know I was out of my body. I thought my body went somewhere. I thought that was my perception, is I went somewhere because I was attached to my body. I didn't know that. Now I look back and go, oh, that was my astral body going somewhere. That kind of thing has happened to me through the years, throughout my entire life. Now we're hearing people saying, I wake up and I'm not in my body anymore. I'm over here and I'm looking down and I go these places and I'm smiling, going, yep. So more happening too. So more synchronistic, being able to share experiences Cullen and I have had the entire time we've been on this planet.
Yeah. Pia and I both suffered from extremely high fevers when we were children. Both of us had fevers that were beyond what medical science at the time said. Infants and small children cannot survive.
Cannot sustain
these temperatures of 105, 106, 107. Our parents were told they will become brain damaged or they will die. Obviously,
both of sets of our parents said, we're not going to listen to you, and we came out of it.
So, but during those experiences, I think Pia and I left our bodies because either the pain or the confusion was so traumatic for us that we just exited. We just went somewhere else. And I think because of those experiences, we're who we are today because of those high fevers. I think it sensitized us and allowed us to be able to see through the veil at that early stage of our development.
That feels correct. And I wanted to bring this in terms of when you were talking about the light being and one of your friends having bleeding gums. I had a Kundalini experience. Oh gosh, it's been like 2 years ago. And I was just sitting on my couch, and suddenly, the fire started coming up. And initially I was like, oh my gosh, am I dying right here, or what's going on? Because you know of it, but when you experience it yourself. So it passed, or it took about 3 to 5 minutes. And I wish that I had the guts at that point to really stay in it and experience it more, because I moved a lot into fear. Like, what the heck is happening? Oh my gosh. How do I, can I go into a meditative state and kind of push it away? And then when it was done, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it was. I wish I had really had the guts at that point to really be in it and not move into fear. So if we can move to Laarkmaa in just a second, this is one of the things I would like to hear words on, is again moving away from this fear and moving away from body sensations, because there are a lot of clients that I work with as well that are experiencing this, and oh my gosh, I'm scared of that. I'm like, it's just a spiritual experience, and what we're going through now, there are going to be more aches and pains. Just relax through it and discover what this means for you, because it can be beautiful. It can be beautiful. Shall we? Or do y'all want to comment on that before we go to Laarkmaa?
Well, just one short thing. I already mentioned this a few moments ago, but the faster we catch ourselves,
Yes.
the faster when we're in that kind of situation, if we can say to ourselves, this is not something to be feared. This is a new experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not used to it, but let me be curious and let me go deeply into it and simply see what happens. The sooner we do that, the more gigantic the experience will be.
Yeah. And it was like some of these things, like it was a painful, searing experience. Like, again, to the point, like, am I dying right now? What's going on? So it wasn't this, oh, we're just going to do a little pinch on your shoulder. I mean, it was major. So, yeah, I love that, to recommend to people just to chill out. Everything's going to be okay. And if for some reason you die, which that's great too. Okay, shall we go into more?
Well, I want to say one thing before Laarkmaa speaks, and that is, you're talking about the fire, the Kundalini fire coming up,
Yes.
which brings to mind for me the image of the phoenix, which burns itself to ashes and then is born again in a new form. So if we think about the fire is burning away what we don't need and bringing to us what we do new, then everything's great.
It's regeneration.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. All right. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just be practice.
Hello, dear ones. We are Laarkmaa, and we are here to support you on your evolutionary journey. We are here and available for all those who want to look more deeply at what is blocking their path, what is needed or necessary for them to move forward, or to receive a broader perspective of what is happening to them. We are here and available for that service for humanity. How would you like to proceed in our conversation today, dear one?
I would like to help people even more move away from fear. I think we've touched on some really great thoughts today. But yeah, what would you add to that in terms of being calm, in terms of being peaceful, in terms of being curious?
Remembering that fear is the opposite of love, and being curious about how to go more deeply into love. How else can I perceive this? How else can I think about or feel what I'm experiencing? In other words, if you're feeling the flames of Kundalini come up and you're really uncomfortably hot, instead of thinking, uh-oh, am I dying? What's wrong? Immediately doing as Cullen says, catching yourself and saying, oh, something big is changing. I'm curious about what this is going to bring. That automatically puts you into a place of trust in the process, and it moves you out of any kind of programmed from your previous experiences or beliefs, fear about change or the changing situation. Anytime you can stop the current thought process that you are familiar with and move into a curious state about what else could be happening, that's a step in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
And you have more?
Okay. All right, let me see how to word this. And we talked about this too, yet I would love your perspective. When something shows up in front of you that seems evil, that smells rotten or whatever, how would you suggest that someone faces that? Like breathing how do you ground yourself in a situation like that, which is pretty extreme?
Very good question. The first thing to remember is all wisdom and truth lives in your heart. Your intuition comes from your heart wisdom. And you need to remember that you do not have only 5 senses, you have 6 senses. So it's not just what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you touch, those senses that you are accustomed to, what you taste. Those 5 senses are not your only senses. Your most important sense, which mainstream media calls a 6th sense and laughs at and says it does not really exist. From the Pleiadian perspective, we call it your first and most important sense, and that is your inner knowing of what the energy is. So when you encounter something that a third dimensional sense of smell says, this doesn't smell good, or a feeling touch or a sight look says, this doesn't look nice, or it doesn't feel nice to touch, immediately take a deep breath in, go into your heart and ask, but what does my first sense tell me? Also, sending the being a greeting of love the minute you see it, while you take the time to readjust yourself, will help adapt to whatever needs to occur. Either your sending of love will make the being leave because it does not want to be in your presence of love and light, or it will come towards you because it wants more of the love and light and wants your help. So if you can take a moment and send love and light first, take a deep breath in, and then ask, what does my first sense about this experience have to tell me? And ask, you'll receive answers from your heart about how to proceed. You have to retrain yourself not to immediately react in fear, but instead take a moment of repose and then make conscious actions from choices from your heart about how to proceed. That's the way to change the pattern, break the old paradigm structure, and move into what is required for being in unity and love as a cosmic citizen. Many of these beings are here and available on your planet now. As we have often said, the dark is not evil. The dark has just lost its way and wants to return to the light. So if it is coming to you because of your love and light, you have 2 choices. React in fear and then feel sick or ill or something happening to you because of your own negativity and fear, reacting to what that energy is bringing, or respond in love and feel your vibration rise higher and higher so that you can share that love and light with the other and make a difference in helping that being that has dark energy return to the light. That's how we perceive the 2 choices. And the choices are yours. But we ask you, wouldn't you rather feel happy and good about what is occurring than feeling frightened and in pain?
Big yes.
Big yes. It's a process, but it is one that you are involved in because you chose to be here at this time. We recognize that the transition is anything but comfortable. The best way to get through it is to just move through it. Everything changes, and remember that change is life and that you are changing because you are expanding on your evolutionary journey. So whatever your experience is, it's moving you into a higher place, except when you choose to respond from fear, anger, or lower vibrational reaction.
Thank you. That was perfect.
We feel that you are perfect in your questioning and in opening responses and possibilities for others. And we thank you for what you are bringing to those who choose to listen to what you have to share.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that too. Thank you.
Good always.
That touched my heart. It always does, but that was very personal for me. So I appreciate that. One last thing I wanted to mention in TV shows and programming, it is always kill. If there's something that we don't understand, something that doesn't feel good to us, we're going to kill it. So if you start watching that, if you're watching TV and the programming, it's always that. We need to kill this. We're going to bring the military in, or we're going to, but there's a bug and we're going to let everything is killing versus, oh, curiosity. Let's see what this is. We're okay. So, yes, don't do that. All right, you two. Wow.
Do we have a minute to discuss this very topic?
Yes.
Pia and I took a deep dive some time ago, and we looked into 1950s TV shows and cartoons for children.
Ooh, they're intense.
And we discovered, because we thought we knew the direction we were going to prove this, we discovered that almost every cartoon was about dominance, killing, control, dark. Children have been fed this since the 1950s. We looked at very popular TV shows. I mean, this goes way back. P and I are older than most of your listeners, probably. Roy Rogers, Hopalong Cassidy, Gunsmoke, Wagon Train.
All about the cowboys killing the Indians.
Or killing anything that didn't match their belief systems.
Yep.
So what we understand is that the agenda that people toss around and talk about today wasn't just invented 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. This agenda has been going for a very long time, training us to alter what we think is okay, moral, immoral. This programming has been going on for a very long time.
And then we get into Disney movies that most of them have to do with someone's parent dying, or I have one set of clients where the girls get scared from watching Disney movies, which is like, yeah, because they're concerned, oh, are my parents going to die? I mean, almost every one of them. Or like Bambi, the mom gets shot. Oh my gosh, come on. Why would you be showing that to a child? I was shown that as a child.
Yep. There was a classic movie called Old Yeller.
I was thinking of Old Yeller.
Same thing.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay.
the current spin on the agenda and what they're teaching the children and the young people today is you don't need human interaction or connection. You can do everything digitally with AI. That's the current demon. That's the current anti-life projection of the agenda that's being focused on now. So our job is to have as much human connection as possible and demonstrate the benefit that we get when we connect and love each other.
The upside of all of this negativity is we simply need to create community. We need to communicate. We need to smile and laugh more. We need to do things that affirm life. And if we do that, we will be changing the entire picture.
I think we've done some of that today, wouldn't y'all say?
Absolutely.
Big smiles, energy to everybody who's listening, watching, energy to you guys. As always, thank y'all so much. Beautiful show, I would say.
We would agree.
Thank you. And as I always state, y'all hang with me just a second. All right, everybody. As consistent, I have a show, and I just realized I've been doing this now for 2.5 years. So the podcast, and my gut keeps saying, go ahead. I think I've got guests scheduled out for the next 2 months. So it's going to continue until my heart says stop. So next week, same time, same places. Thank you, Pia and Cullen, as always, my regular guest. Love to everybody. Bye-bye. Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.